The following is an official lore video of the Dark Diaspora Universe, a journey in world-building project.
This feast day, it was an insult. It had been decades since Geran had partaken in a genuine celebration, the very concept of a feast day seeming anachronistic in the giant lava worm-plagued, smog-filled Warren cities of Los Serion. For as long as anyone could remember, the harsh world of fiery brimstone and choking noxious fumes had been home to the primary terrestrial industrial base of the wider Tyson Sector Compact. The world offered little respite or comforts to its human residents, yet thousands arrived daily in the hope of finding the one thing it had to offer: jobs. Geran wiped his brow. Grime, oil, and sweat mixed to coat his skin. Scratches and cuts from endless hours of grinding labor stung from the residue, his eyes burning from the exhaust. Only a makeshift cloth mask prevented him from directly inhaling the noxious fumes. If these were the jobs the migrants of 100 worlds craved, they could have them. Yet, war was upon the Compact once again, and the parts and equipment produced by Los Serion were critical to the war effort. He was told to do his part for the Compact, but he cared not for the wider galaxy. Geran needed the money, and more importantly, the ration credits, to feed his family. He only qualified for enough rations credits to barely sustain 2 grown adults, and the meager pay all went to lodgings and utilities. Geran had become very adept at going extended periods without food. His record was 6 days. It wasn't a pleasant record. The horn bellowed, loud and boisterous to be heard over the clanging and scraping of the factory. Exhausted, Geran wanted nothing more than but to make his way home to his tiny cube home. As he crawled along the oil-slick streets of the transit tunnel in the back of the open-top shuttle bus, Geran caught glimpses of shops. Weathered and worn, the shops, nonetheless, tried valiantly to attract customers with decorations of the festive season. For even in the harshness of Los Serion warrens, the outward trappings feast of Blessed Nicholas were displayed. The deacons and novices of the Taravan Covenant seem ever present at this time of year, leading prayers and heralding tales of hope, sacrifice, and repentance. Geran cared not for their tales, for he knew their corruption, their sinister intentions. For every good novice, there were 100 who proved themselves devout in name only, willing to wield their power for their own personal gain. For the last month, a particularly unsavory older novice had preyed on Geran and his family, calling upon Geran's young wife when he was at work and when their kids were at school, and forcing her to succumb to his unwanted advances. Upon hearing of this invasion, this assault, Geran seethed with impotent fury, his wife begging him not to escalate things for fear of the inevitable retribution. Yet, despite his wife's entreaties, his fury did not dissipate, and instead clung to his very soul like a hot black tar, burning away at him. Geran's dwelling was a simple cube house, stacked up 7 high, along with thousands of others that lined the walls of the residential warren. Simple anti-grav lifts were originally installed to provide people ease of access to high abodes, but those had long since fallen into disrepair. So, he dragged his haggard body up 7 flights of metal stairs, located on the outside of his home stack. As he slogged his way upwards, motivated only by his impending reunion with those he loved, he noticed a figure on the stairs above him. As he climbed up a flight before doubling back to continue upwards, he caught another glimpse. The figure was wearing a gray robe, hooded and long. It was the novice. Geran continued to walk up the stairs without missing a step as the novice turned to walk down beside him. Geran's mind raced as the novice approached, his eyes fixed to the steps before him. As they passed each other, though, Geran could not help but glance up at the novice's face, only to catch the older man glancing back at him, a sly grin on his face. "Your wife is quite the feast day host," the novice jibed as they passed. The deep well of burning fury with Geran began to bubble over at the quip, the voice of his wife telling him to leave it be, to not react, drowned out by a hot, white rage. The novice scoffed at Geran's apparent unresponsiveness and continued on. Yet, as the religious man reached the landing at the bottom of the stairs, he felt a sharp tug on his robes. Spun around at considerable speed, the novice was brought face to face with Geran, the worker's eyes now filled with a tearful anger. The novice seemed shocked for a moment at being accosted, but soon, upon looking into Geran's green eyes, he felt a moment of panic. With a single big push, Geran sent the novice over the rail of the landing. Gasping in shock, the novice barely managed to let out a scream before he landed head first on the rough pavement below. Geran did not wait to see the body land. Within moments, he was at his door, and there he saw his young wife, her clothes disheveled, and her expression one of knowing embarrassment. But as she looked over at her husband, she saw his face beaming with a smile, and she could not help but meet his with her own. As he hugged his wife, tears now streaming down his grime-covered face, he finally felt his rage, his fury, his hopelessness melt away. It felt good to do something, and a considerable weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Perhaps this feast day wasn't so bad after all.
Hey!